Well, gang, we're back again with another impressions video, and I'm going to immediately apologize because I am a little under the weather, but regardless, that's why I got today's drink that we got in our series, which is Dr. Active. This is the multi-fruit Dr. Active, and I'm just going to say, if you know, you know. But regardless, addicting. Regardless, the game we're going to talk about today is called Hi-Fi Rush, which is the latest escapade from Tango Gameworks, developers of games such as The Evil Within and last year's Ghostwire Tokyo. So like I said, this is the latest game from Tango Gameworks, which they are known typically for their survival horror games such as The Evil Within, but this game kind of came out of nowhere. So in January this year, Xbox had a sort of developer direct thing where everybody would go in, they would talk about what sort of games were coming out. The games that were showcased at this event were like Redfall, which is Arcane's new game, Forza Motorsport, that sort of stuff. But they were like, oh, well, we got a surprise thing from Tango, which basically meant that, yo, I gotta watch this damn thing. So basically, they showed off the game at the developer direct, announced it that day, and then at the end of the show, they were like, oh yeah, you know what's the best part? You could play the game now. Absolutely now. And that just blew everybody's socks off. So, of course, having it be a nice, cool little game, I had to go and play it myself. So Hi-Fi Rush is basically like a rhythm-based action game where our goofy protagonist Chai, who's sort of this guy who wants to be a rocker, but the sort of typical protagonist that would slip on a banana peel. He's basically got a missing arm and stuff like that, and he loves his music. So he goes to this place called Vandelay and is part of what's called Project Armstrong, which is there to replace the limbs of certain types of people. So he goes in there, cuts the line as is in typical Chai fashion, gets to the front of the line, gets his new arm installed, but accidentally along the way, his MP3 player, MP3 player, if you can remember that, falls into the machine that puts the new cybernetics on him, and it gets grafted onto his body, so the MP3 is now part of his heart. So everything in the world, from like every single little like hiss of the machines to robots walking around to everything, even your own heartbeat, is done to the beat of the music that is playing on your MP3. So from there, he's basically quickly labeled a defect and needs to escape out of there, and so with the help of himself, his friends, such as Peppermint and her cat, that's a robot cat called 808, you're basically tasked going against the Vandelay Corporation's executive, and from there, you basically gotta beat them because they want to beat the hell out of you. So to quickly go on to the gameplay element of Hi-Fi Rush, the main gameplay gimmick is that everything that you do, whether it be attacking, parrying, blocking, dodging, that sort of stuff, is all done to the beat of the music that has a different beat in every single level. So within the game itself, you'll be playing through the game and you'll have a normal sort of hack and slash gameplay, but if you attack to the beat of the music, you get these bonuses. You can attack and go bam, 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 and then, okay, sure, that's fine. But if you hit to the beat of the notes, they do special things, like they hit with more damage, you can hit them faster sometimes. On top of that, there's the sort of S-rank system that comes with all of these hack and slash games. So the better you do, the higher score you're gonna get, and of course you want to get the better score. But one of the things that make it so you have to be good at to get to the better score is timing your beats better. So if you're jiving and you're playing to the music and you're snapping your fingers and you're playing and beating everybody to the beat, then that increases your score, and it's kind of this nice little incentive to try and fight along the beat. That being said, you don't get punished if you don't hit notes on the beat. They just don't do as much damage, and they're not as cool. But what's super cool is that the enemies run on the same rules. So they only attack on the beat, they dodge or move on the beat, that sort of stuff. So the whole world runs on the same rules. And I feel like in a lesser game, that's probably what they would have gotten wrong, is that the enemies, they just attack however they want, and you have to attack on this pattern in this beat. But the enemies are just like that, and so there's this sort of wonderful audiovisual spectacle when you fight them, because they go. Now, it's a little weird at first, not gonna lie, because you're trying to. Usually with these sort of hack and slash games, you want to attack as fast as you can. But when I played through this game, you do that and it's like you don't really hit much on the beat. And so this game tells you, okay, just settle down, take it slow, and now try to hit things on the beat. And once you start taking it easier, just feeling the groove and how you go into the beat, the game gets way more fun, and there's really nothing to compare it to out there. It has these really well-paced sort of scripted encounters that allow the game to drop in enemies that fit not just to the arena that you're fighting in, but also to your current sort of status and how you are in the game. Like, are you fighting better? Are you not fighting better? On top of that, the enemies in the levels, they're kind of different. So in each one of these encounters, they might add a different sort of challenge that you gotta beat with these enemies. Now, some of you might ask me, is the game difficult? Is it hard? Is it easy? And there's different sorts of difficulty levels to go with it. But what I mean by that is that some people ask me, because some hack and slash games can be notoriously not difficult, but have really high skill ceilings where you almost want to get better, and Hi-Fi Rush is kind of like that. It's not as difficult and it's not as brutal as a lot of other hack and slash games, but the high skill ceiling part of it, it's one of those where you naturally want to get better at the game, because it's not just you pull off cooler moves and you beat enemies faster. It's also that the spectacle is all that much better. It's way more cool when you're fighting things to the beat, but when it tunes in and out with the music, it's so cool. And it's such a spectacle, and it's a very nice sort of, not really diegetic, but it's a nice way to seamlessly get the player to care and try to do better, because the better you do, the more it's like, whoa, he can do that. Wow, this is you're grooving. The better you do, the more you're grooving to the music. And so that, I think, is a really neat way to sort of very nicely incentivize the player to want to beat the game better. Now, moving on to the narrative, Hi-Fi Rush's narrative and story, it isn't anything crazy. It's not, you're not going to win any awards playing this game or writing this game, but it's serviceable enough, and it's just good enough for what this game is. It's not trying to be too much, and that's just fine in my books. What I mean is that the writing is not bad per se. It's just sort of very, very predictable, very Saturday morning cartoon sort of feel. And so it's one of those that you play through it and it gets you from plot A to plot B to the end. And if it makes you laugh along the way or smile along the way at some of its characters, then that's really all it needs to do. Basically, as I was saying earlier, is that you have to defeat Vandelay after they deem you a defect and create a tool that will cause world problems by basically trying to hack into people's brains or stuff like that. So you'll have to beat Kale, which is the head of Vandelay, and the other executives representing different parts of the company. So there's research and development, there's quality assurance, there's the finances and security. So it puts a really neat spin into the types of enemies that you fight. And then when you get to these executives and you have a boss battle, it's all that more interesting, because it's how does their sort of role play into it? Along the way, you'll be helped by Peppermint, which is a hacker and technologist that created your lovable cat 808 that joins you throughout the game, and other allies such as Macaron and his goofy robot Cinnamon, who draws his expressions with Sharpie and more. There's of course a few more characters, but doing anything more than that and you're already gonna spoil a game that's not super long, and on top of that it's you'll get there anyway. So all the characters I really enjoyed. You know, it's not all too wild, but the characters all have a very Saturday morning cartoon charm to them all that I can't help but put a smile on my face. And the villains, they're just as absurd and just as goofy. And if you don't like these sort of things, then, well, maybe you might not like Hi-Fi Rush. So just put that into account. Through the whole game, I had a big, stupid smile on my face, and I was just, you know, not just because of the gameplay and the tunes, but because of all of it. It just put a smile on my face. There's these wonderful moments where, like, you'll be part of an encounter, and before more enemies spawn in, it gives you like this little like 15-second little break, and every time it's a bit different. And so like some of these are like you're fighting and you're doing so well that even 808, your cat, is like grooving and rocking and air guitaring, and Chai will be like right behind you, like real goofy stuff. Like the entire game I was expecting somebody to say, he's right behind me, isn't he? And so, if you don't like that kind of writing, especially like in a kids kind of show, I wouldn't say kids, but like, you know, more younger, more goofy, more just silly, then you might not like this game. But personally, I loved it to bits. It had a huge smile on my face all the way through, and that's, for a game of this caliber, that's all it needs to do.
Not suspicious at all.
Introducing
You want to be successful? You want to be productive? Then you gotta be aggressive. And when a defect punk like you wants to run out of here, you're just asking for it.
Asking for what exactly?
You disrespecting me? That's it. The gloves are coming off.
I can see that. What was your plan for this, Peppermint?
I don't know. Fight?
You're paying me double for this.
But I'm not paying you anything.
Hey! I'm the main show here! So let's get ready to crumble.
But fellas, the real star of the show here, without a doubt, is the game's presentation. Let's talk about the music first, and each single game and level, it's set up as a track. So basically there's like this background track that's always playing, and that track goes to the beat, and it goes to the same beat that you have to deal with in the game. And it's seamlessly looped over and over again to the point where you don't even notice it, and it's just part of the world. And Tango has done such an exquisite job in that regard. Like, for example, as I said before, Chai attacks to the beat, and the enemies try to smite you to the beat, and you have to block and dodge and attack to the beat. That is always with you, like it's a part of you, because, well, realistically, because you have an MP3 in your body, it is. And like I said earlier, the better you do, the greater the spectacle is. Like, people will start cheering you on. Once you get to that S tier, they'll go, Chai, Chai, Chai. And it's like really fun, and it gets you pumped up. And so you want to do better, attack to the beat, and have all these sort of cogs and gears working in this perfect conjunction where the presentation looks great, the soundtrack's kicking off on all cylinders. And it feels like, damn, you're a rock star to an audience of people that nobody's watching, but it's pretty great. And then this sort of spectacle keeps rising and rising and rising until you get to the end where you gotta deal with the boss fights. And these boss fights are just a spectacle of their own, where they have usually their own licensed music and things like that, and it just works perfectly. And each licensed track sort of fits perfectly with each one of the executives that you get to fight with, and it's so great. But the spectacle just doesn't end at the boss fights. Even the world plays to the beat. You'll see like a factory move to the beat, clanking machinery, pistons blowing out steam, all of that, like warning signs and speakers blaring noise. To the beat. Everything's to the beat, and it truly is it's a wonderful audio-visual treat to behold. Overall, I had an immense amount of fun playing through Hi-Fi Rush. It has an exquisite soundtrack with lots of great licensed music. There's some scenes where you bust into the building and everybody's looking at you like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? And it's slowly rising, like it plays Prodigy's Kill All the Invaders, or Invaders Must Die. That's the name of the song, I forget, and it's just like, is that what I think it is? You play that and it just gets better and better and better. The game, it opens up to Lonely Boy by the Black Keys, which is such a perfect sort of theme for Chai. And it just doesn't stop. It starts at that wonderful, fun, like, smile on your face, and it just doesn't stop. I don't even really know how many more ways to put it, but Hi-Fi Rush was such a genuine tour de force in games that genuinely impressed me and put a big fat smile on my face. I keep saying it, but that's just really the most important part about games sometimes to me, and my enjoyment with them. Hi-Fi Rush, like, you get to the penultimate level in the game, and even though the story's just kind of cheesy, the villain is still kind of cheesy and things like that, but it's this moment where the whole gang and yourself get together. They're like, it's this wonderful moment of catharsis that is played to the tune of the Joy Formidable's Whirring, and it's just this song that it kicks up and it kicks up and it starts like down pretty low and it gets higher and it crescendos and it gets to the top, and it's gonna sound goofy, but I'm almost like filled to tears. Like, it's such a uplifting, cathartic experience to get to the end of the game at that point. In Hi-Fi Rush as well, like, as a product in the future, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you could do. You can make a Hi-Fi Rush that's more metal. You could do a Hi-Fi Rush that has more jazzy elements into it. There's so much cool stuff you could do, and after finishing this game, there was part of me that's like, man, if they ever do a sequel, I would really like for them to play with different time signatures for different difficulties, or like in a level where Chai gets like punched right in the heart and now he's got a different time signature and stuff like that. I think it would be really cool. But I think of a lot of Between the Buried and Me, and it's like, man, I would love the Between the Buried and Me to be part of a Hi-Fi Rush soundtrack. Just beating a boss or a level to that tune of even like Bad Habits or something from Colors 2 would just be an incredible experience that, honestly, there's just nothing quite like it. So ultimately, just like with a lot of other games that come out, Hi-Fi Rush is one of those games that I'm so glad that I got the chance to play, and I hope that with this video, you'll have a good chance to play it as well. And so, like with the other videos, it's not a review. Obviously, this is not a review because I'm just more kind of telling you a stream of consciousness, sort of stream of thought that I have on this game. But, so in that case, unlike a review, I'm not going to give it a score because I haven't really done justice to it, I think. But personally, as is with the other reviews, let me just take a little sip. It's loosey-goosey on this program, folks, so don't worry about it. But like I was saying, it's basically do I recommend it or do I not recommend it? And if you've been hearing me this entire time, yeah, duh, I absolutely 100% recommend that you go out and play Hi-Fi Rush. At the moment, you can buy Hi-Fi Rush for like 30 euros, I think, or $40, one of the two. But more importantly, if you got Xbox Game Pass, then it's right there on Game Pass, which is how I played it. And as a Game Pass pick that came out of nowhere, it's just wonderful, brilliant. It kind of makes me appreciate Game Pass all the much more. I know, like, the running joke is that I always shill Game Pass, but it's a service that I really enjoy. And like Pentiment last year, where it allows a team to have a smaller little side like team where they get to develop something truly unique like Pentiment, it seems like Tango Gameworks was allowed to do the same thing for a Hi-Fi Rush. And in this way, I'm gonna be real with you fellas. Like, this is gonna be kind of controversial, but it's not my favorite Tango Gameworks game. I still like their survival horror offerings first, But I think all in all, no controversy, no that. I think this is probably the best release that Tango Gameworks has done. And it had no marketing, no nothing, just release on Game Pass. And so, as I said before, if Game Pass allows for this kind of creativity and interesting games to come out, then I'm all for it. You know, go buy the whole world, Microsoft. I don't give a damn. But if we get more games like this, then service is going to be good. If we don't get games like this and we get more trash, then well, I probably won't be shilling Game Pass all that much longer. Anyway, we kind of got here to the end of the video, and if you've made it all the way here, then thank you so much, my friends. I really do appreciate it. If you're a new person here to the channel, then I really hope you enjoyed this video, but this isn't usually my typical fare, and my typical fare are usually more structured sort of videos that I have that are my review videos. So if you're interested in this, then maybe I might suggest go and take a look at my other videos. For example, like my review on Signalis or Pathologic 2, what have you. For all the other people that are around, that are subscribers, then thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said again, if you haven't subscribed and you like this video, then maybe you should subscribe. Maybe there's more cool stuff for you to see. As well, to plug in, I have a new podcast that's currently on its 2nd episode, soon to be 3rd episode here coming up, that is joined by my good friends Mike, who's Beaver P.I, that's sort of his handle, and that's what he streams on. So I'll have his credentials down on the description for you to enjoy. And my other good friend Andrew, who I've known for a long time, just like with Mike. And so we hang around, talk about a bunch of dumb nonsense, and yeah, that's basically the podcast. So if you're into that, then tune in to the Tomcast. But regardless, this is Tomthechosen1 having an immense amount of time trying to get open heart surgery on an MP3 player, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.